systems go. Clear for liftoff. What's up, everyone? Tyler Tamboline here, a.k.a. ToeTagginTambo, back for another PGA show here on the SHIPIT Nation YouTube station. Got my guy Hoopster here with me. As always, going to break down all things for the CJ Cup Byron Nelson. Got Scotty. That's the big talk. We'll talk when we get there, but we're going to break it down from a DFS perspective. Like always, going to go through the pricing over on DraftKings, not just tier by tier. We're going to talk about lineup construction, going to talk about ownership, how it plays out, the different ranges, where we see people landing, go through Sabersim, our partner with our optimizer and contest sims over there. Hoopster, back at it again, man. What's going on? How you doing?
Yeah, doing well. The team event was, it is what it is. It's unfortunate that they have it on the schedule. I know some people like it. I mean, and it's a little bit different, but man, like it just seems like it's an easy fix for the PGA Tour. Eliminate that. They're drawing no names. No one wants to play in that bullshit format, and bring back the match play. It would just be so much more exciting. Fans would like it more. The viewing experience would be better, much better for DFS as well, and sports betting, I'd assume. So hopefully they do that. I doubt they do it. I mean, they seem locked into this team event, but unfortunately after the team event, we get a really shitty field, but we do have Scotty in it. But Scotty, a couple other names, and a bunch of dudes that probably have no business playing in a PGA Tour event. But the prizes are big for DFS, and that's the important part, and that's why we're here.
I got the sad news for you right now and for everybody. The PGA Tour has locked up Zurich Insurance as the sponsor of its only two-man team event through 2030. So only at least 5 more years of this, and then we'll see. And they're not in the business of losing sponsors anymore. They're at least trying not to be after some of the stuff they've had with Honda and things like that falling out. So, yeah, we're going to deal with it, I guess. But it was definitely a nice week for me to rejuvenate, get a little. I had a few lineups in. It was fine. 6-6s were hard to come by. I had a couple in there, but nothing really came from. But we had some huge wins across the community. Shout out to our guy Shaloub. Another big week. I know he had a huge baseball score as well for 100K. Our guy, the Dirty Sheik, who I don't have the gear yet, but Hoop, I'll show it off. I'll grab it right quick.
Can't wait to see.
Dirty Sheik won like 120K recently earlier in the year. And then he won 40K this past week. He only had $80 or $100 in that $20 and came second. Check this out. Literally the best hat ever. He got this for me. Shout out to my guy.
Oh, wow.
Very
nice.
Skip it. We got it there. And then, we'll see if
wow. Look at that puppy.
Pretty nice, too. So I got a good hook up there. Shout out to
Very nice.
Taking care of us. Always appreciate him. So anybody else wants to send free gifts from the Masters, certainly the address is ready. But and I'm sure Hoop's the same. But I thought, for what it was, Novak and Griffin coming back and getting, Novak coming back after the week before, really, really strong 2 weeks for him. But, he said even down the stretch, he had to have Ben Griffin sort of rein him in. He almost gave away another one, but this time he got the job done. But your boy, JT, we didn't get to talk about it the week before. He must have been signing some of the autographs for the kiddos because he's back. He got a win.
Yeah, exactly. And then I do got to shout out our guy, GS Luke, because I was beating the drum early on in the year when golf starts. Like every single week, we hit the outright again. We hit the outright, but yet you don't see the betting slips. And, I hit it hard for like 3 or 4 weeks, but like I had to scale back on it just because, I proved my point and I kind of moved on. But our guy GS Luke is staying on top of those dudes because it's another week in the PGA streets where everybody knew that Ben Griffin and Andrew Novak were going to win. Like everyone knew it. Everyone had it on their card, but yet nobody had a receipt to prove it. So our guy GS Luke kindly pointed that out. So I've passed the torch. I've passed the torch to our guy GS Luke. He's staying on top of it.
Good segue too. Shout out to GS Luke. Big week for him because I know sometimes people say, where's your DFS lineups at? And he dropped a big hammer on them, a 10K outright score, hit that on DraftKings. Then he had another 2K or 3K on another tournament that he was in, plus some of those bets and the props throughout the week, always helping us out. And he's going to be here tomorrow night, SHIPIT Nation YouTube station, starting for the next, at least a little bit. He's going to be helping us out there on the Wednesday evening show, just while our guy Degenerate 75 is out working on his health stuff. So we certainly appreciate GS Luke coming through and getting the job done to help out the community that way. But we'll talk about it, Hoop. We got the CJ Cup Byron Nelson. The big talking point here is going to be Scotty, which I'm going to be interested to see when we bring up Saber, if it's a full-on 100% jam. I'm assuming it's going to try, because
I just ran the teams, and you're going to have to wait to see. Unfortunately, I can't give you any information.
Don't break it yet, but Scotty's looking for a win, right? Everyone's feeling like it's been just mediocre. Scotty is all we've got all season so far, and now we get an opportunity for him to come out and find a W. So he is priced at $13,300. I will say that the pricing is what we asked for, but it just is what it is. You can't do much about it when the 9K range is hosting Ben Griffin off the win with the team event, and obviously stuff, but Mackenzie Hughes just not what you'd expect to see. Hughes is playing good too. Ben Griffin's obviously playing well, but it's just one of those situations where even with putting Scotty up to 13.3 and having no 5K range, I think there's still a ton of guys in the 6K range that are playable, especially 65 up to 69 range particularly. And the 7K range actually has a bunch of dudes in it, but that also makes them really playable. So I don't know, Hoop, do you see a week? Well, I forget what it was. It was like the start of the season. Remember when Scotty was first coming back, and maybe it was week 2 of him coming off the injury, but he ended up getting to 6. Remember we were saying, okay, it ain't going to be 40. It's going to be 50. By the time we got to our show, we said, okay, we'll go to, or wait, going to be 30. It's going to be 40.
Yeah.
By the time we got to our show, we said, okay, 50 might be possible. And then he broke the thing at 60. Yeah. There is just so many guys that you can play with Scotty this week that I'm wondering what you think is going to happen here before we get in. What's sort of your grand scheme overview looking at the early pricing?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably 50 plus. I mean, it's just the only name that people want to click, like up top, like even with a basically a $3,000 discount down to Jordan Spieth, 2,800. Like, people are still going to want to get to Scotty, and you just don't have to sacrifice much. So let's say it's Scotty and a 7K guy that's 20K. Like, do you want that, or do you want Spieth and Taylor Pendrith? Like, you're just, more people than not are just going to take Scotty and the cheap guy. And that's what hand builders will do. And I guess I'll give you a little information on the dry room. That's probably what optimizers are going to do too, based on what I'm seeing right here. So you got the double-edged swords where, like, people that are hand building are going to look at that 2v2 and say, yeah, give me the Scotty side. And you got the optimizers that are going to look at the 2v2s and say, give me the Scotty side. So it's going to get up there. It's just a matter of, really how high. And like you alluded to, there's just so many cheapish guys, in that 7K range to kind of, or not even, like, there's enough 7K guys that people feel comfortable clicking to make it all work.
Yeah, the best thing, the most accurate, I think, thing you said there is for sure the Scotty factor of if someone has Spieth and Pendrith versus Scotty and whoever, it doesn't matter because it's going to be Scotty and whoever because there's so many whoever's. Meaning when you go to the 7K, someone's going to like Kitayama, someone's going to like Matt McCarty, someone's going to like Celinda. Like, everyone has their guy down there, so they just don't care. I also think it would be an interesting week to build in sets, even if you just, are looking at your Scotty lineups as its own set. Like, let's say you want to do Scotty lineups and you want to cap Scotty at 50 or 60%. You'll just take what you get and then the rest be on your way. I would really want to see what my Scotty lineups are looking like and finagle those to be like the best Scotty lineups I can get. So there's something to be said this week for, let's say you're doing 150 lineups, you can extrapolate it down. If it's 75, 50, 20, whatever, I may want to do my 100 Scotty lineups, let's just say, and have a glance at what those all look like, and then build my 50 without Scotty and make sure I've got the best versions of both sides, because the Scotty lineups will, if people are just going to plug them in when we get there, Mayo and I will be on tomorrow morning doing the ownership mixed with the lineup construction. I'm sure we'll see a bunch of chalk that congregates in certain areas, but there is enough guys in the 7K range and then a ton from 65 to 69 that I actually think it could be pretty spread out. And that's where, there's going to be a few that get chalked up. But after that, I think you're going to be able to get different with those lineups. So making sure you get what you want would be key. Anything else to add when it comes to the overall grand scheme of things of how you're looking at the slate?
Yeah, it's kind of the key thing. Like, obviously, if you don't play Scotty, you're probably immediately different, right? I mean, when you're talking about a guy being over 50% owned, like, you're going to be different if you don't go Scotty. And then I think there's enough guys in the 7s and upper 6s, like you talked about, where you can still play Scotty and have unique, different sort of builds. And we'll get into it when we start talking, but a lot of the Scotty builds look very similar, like very, very similar in terms of what the optimizer is spitting out. So like you do something a little different with the Scotty teams, you have a chance to be unique. Roster construction is like very similar, I guess, on what I'm trying to say on these Scotty teams. So if you do something a little outside the box compared to what the field's going to do, you know, you have a chance to be a little bit unique and different with those Scotty teams.
Agreed. Another note just quickly, because we won't really get too much into it today. That's what we have. You know, Mayo and I are on tomorrow. Luke is going to be on, like we said, tomorrow night, right here on the SHIPIT Nation YouTube station. He'll break down the final weather for you. But it's, you're always looking at weather when you're here. And then also, it's interesting. It's crazy windy tomorrow on Wednesday. And then there's a bunch of rain sort of leading in and overnight, it looks like. And then it sort of trickles off around 1 a.m. Thursday. And there's nothing going on Thursday, but it'll be wet from the evening before by the looks of it. And then Friday morning, and winds are down, by the way, both Thursday and Friday versus what they are today and tomorrow. But on Friday, it shows a bunch more rain starting at earlier in the morning, but it actually rains the most from 7 till 1 o'clock. This is early, but it's enough rain to talk about. So just of note, just keep that in mind. We'll be looking at weather as we get closer, but we'll look at it besides the point for right now, going through it. Do you got the dry run up there? Do you want to pull that up to start?
Yeah, let me get in here and share this. We can check it out. Saber, boom. All right.
Good to go.
Right, there we go. Okay, so I do have it sorted by projected score, which I think is definitely the route to go at this point. So it's basically just giving us our highest projected teams. Saber has Scotty at like 62. That might be a little aggressive, but it's fine. We can just roll with it on here. Why you think it could get there?
No, well, I'm just saying we don't. That's why I asked you that earlier, because the other times I will say that time caught us off guard, but it reminds me, that's what I went back and double checked, is this week they did give us so many 7K and so many upper 6Ks that I actually could see. You know, I definitely see it right now as like a 50+ thing. Well, I don't know if you can change that, but it could be not as far off as we think, depending on how people decide, because I just don't know how comfortable they'll be with $9,800 Sam Burns and $9,700 Benny Ann and that when we get there. But go ahead, I'll let you keep it rolling there. But our guy Jay Steele says, I've actively been fading Scotty this year. This is the time.
Okay, that's good to know, because I mean, you haven't necessarily needed him right yet up until this point, but I think a lot of that has to do with how well Rory's played, right? And him and Rory have been priced way up there, and Rory's been playing better. So like fading Scotty has worked. If you did fade Scotty, you're probably playing Rory, and it worked out well for you. But like the difference this week versus a lot of those other weeks, right? Like if you do fade Scotty, right, he's going to have a good finisher, right? He's probably going to finish in the top 10. Like you need someone up here to beat him, right? If it's a bunch of 8K guys in the top spots and then Scotty finishes sixth, that's going to be good enough, right? So you really need to bank on somebody around here, the Spieth or Ims or Burns or Benyon, Pendrith, Siwoo. Keith Mitchell, did he withdraw?
Yeah, WD.
Yeah. So let's get him out. We didn't get any, but so you need someone up there to beat him, because I just can't imagine a world where Scotty doesn't finish in 10th or better. So it is a little bit different when you are looking at the fade. But the one thing you do see, we got 95% aggressive projection, which I think is right. I mean, he's projected 30 points higher than Spieth, about 30 higher than Sungjae. So it's a very, very aggressive projection as well, but we're going to roll with it. We're getting 95% Scheffler. We're getting a bunch of Taylor Moore, Harry Hall, Norlander. So this is just going to be all the highest projected guys like in their range here that are going to come up with good exposure. But the one thing you will see when you go through these teams, they're all looking pretty similar. Scotty, low 8K, 4 7Ks. Scotty, 4 5 7K guys. Scotty, 8K, upper 6, couple 7s. All Scotty 5 7s. Scotty, basically 5 7s, got a 1 8K, 7s. It's the same shit. Like these are the first 10 teams. They all look really, really similar. It's Scotty and 5 guys between 8,100 and 6,800. They're all showing up like that. And that's going to be probably what you can expect this week, right? And the like what you talked about is very important though. There is so many guys, and we'll get to it. I mean, we'll have a quick conversation about the top tier, but when you get down in the 7K range, so many names that people are willing to click where you probably don't have to be all that worried about the ownership. You can find a couple guys that could be low on, like based on this, like Andrew Putnam at 3%, or Davis Riley at 4%. There's just so many different ways to build these teams, but the overall roster construction is going to look very, very similar on those Scotty teams. You're almost forced to do it, right? I mean, there's not many options. Like you're forced to build that way, like that roster construction.
Yeah, and there's 2 things here, like really the big ones is, one, it's going to be really tricky to even worry about, like usually, okay, the win equity is the first thing. So the first thing is win equity. You could, even if you were allowed Hoop to play the next 6 guys after Scotty, I don't think the win equity adds up to Scotty's win equity. Like even if you were allowed to play Spieth, Im, Burns, Benny Ann, Pendrith, and Kim, I honestly don't even know if their win equity equals Scotty's for this week. It's just that he's that much of a favorite versus them. But secondly, the counterbalance to that is usually you're like, okay, well, that's normal. That's Scotty. You're never going to avoid that. The way to beat him is, if you're not going to have that kind of win equity in your lineup, let's just pick up some made cut equity. But to our point that we keep making of the 7K range being loaded, look at all those builds. It doesn't mean they're all right. It's that it was like that week I called it. That same week I was calling it a Scottsy Scheffler, like Yahtzee. It's like him, and you roll the 5 dice and you hope you land on the perfect 5. Yeah. That's what's going to be happening, but there's so many of them to do it that it's almost like you can't even, unless Scotty somehow just has a horrendous week. That's really what you're kind of hoping for. And what are the odds of that? That seems like it's a lot less likely than some of the other things that we kind of hold out hope for. So I think that's going to be the case of why we could see Scotty really popping up there. And I just wanted to see too, while you were running that, who are some of like the, if you sort of by ownership, by exposure, who are some of the top values we have? So it is Taylor Moore, right? Like he's popping up like crazy.
Taylor Moore, Harry Hall, Norlander, and this is based off of Sabersim's projections. Ours not currently loaded, so this is all what Saber has. So it'll look a little bit different, when we get our stuff in here and you run it, but it's going to be the same sort of build. It might just be, instead of Taylor Moore, it might be Matt McCarty, or instead of Harry Hall, it might be, Kevin Yu. Who the heck knows? It's going to be the same sort of roster construction for sure, because you just don't have the options unless you want to play like Scotty and 2 like low. Let's say we'll play a 66, 2 6,600s, and you got 7,800. So you're still kind of in that range of upper 7s, low 8s. There's just, you're restricted because he's 13,300. Now, luckily for us, there's so many guys in that mid 6 to 8K range that are probably playable, where, you probably don't have to worry about the ownership all that much. And if anyone does get popular in that range, if it is Taylor Moore, like, totally fine finding a pivot off of Taylor Moore this week. Like he's not a slam dunk. Or if it is,
even just separating them, that's what I was going to say, is like, it's funny. He just becomes the natural projections value, which a lot of people will follow, especially on a week like this. And even though there is enough guys in that range to space it out some, let's say he does get to 15 to 18 or something in that range, there is, a ton of different options that you can go to in there. And he's like nothing special, not at this tournament, not recently, nothing outside of a world ranking and some betting odds that would say that would make him great. And again, people will throw that in smaller field stuff, and I get it, but just in general, that's what comes down.
What's the difference between all these dudes around him? Like Lee Hodges, Patrick Rogers, even like Chan Kim has played well in some events, Toasty. Like there's just no difference between Taylor Moore and these other guys. And Saber showing 26%. Like if that is true, which it probably is a little lower than that, I'd guess. But like anyone that gets steam or gets ownership in this range, like especially on the Scotty teams, like find a pivot. If you're only building a few teams, like, and it is Taylor Moore that it does get to 25%, don't play Scotty and Taylor Moore together. Like if you're doing 150, you're going to run across some of those teams for sure. But like if you're hand building or only building a few teams, like definitely look elsewhere on anyone that gets popular in the 7K range.
In certain weeks, that's to say, I'm always the proponent of it's not who you play, it's how you play them. But on certain weeks like that, or when we see the area, like look at the tournament, look at the field, look at the DFS perspective, and just say, like, are you going to be mad if you don't play them together and they end up hitting together. It's like, if that's going to be mad, then you got to play some of them. If not, you could just separate them and not worry about it. I want to ask, when you go to, because I like what you did. I do like sorting it by projected score. Obviously, that's what I was going to point out with Taylor Moore, is he's like 5 points better in projection than those around him. But this is PGA DFS. This is not NBA. That is not like a standout thing. It factually is 5 points better, but it means nothing. It's a medium projection. Like, he missed the cut, and then how much is he worth? 35 points or something. So do me a favor, sort now by Saber score instead of projected score on the dry run, and just see if it does, like, what's the difference when you go to, like a 10K to 50K, for example, and let's see Scotty and Moore as the prime examples.
Interesting. So
are you still on 150? You are. Yeah. So it really balances it out, eh?
Yeah. So it really goes a completely different route based on Saber score. You're getting, that's interesting, only 19% Scotty. And the reason that is clearly because anyone in PGA DFS that comes in at a very high ownership number, the sims are going to want to probably go against it, right? And this is not simming it out, but it's one step below simming it out, right? The Saber score stuff. So it's going to want to go away from that, and it is interesting. It goes to Benyon, Ben Griffin, your boy Sung Jae at 10K. Maybe he's back.
Did
Bridgman.
You see, shout out to our guy Lee Aldrich. You see the Course Fit rankings this week?
I did.
Yeah, there's a guy up top there that
I did.
A friend of mine. So yeah,
that's scary.
Stuff. But I guess this exercise was good to show just the power of Sabersim and just looking at it. And people wonder, like, how does it get you such accurate lineups or good lineups or whatever it might be? And this is just a prime example. But to my point, you don't just press buttons, right? It's not an auto easy button that you just win money automatically. It's just giving you better versions of saying it's not going to be so heavy on the projections. It's going to find some leverage in there and use a formula that's able to find what would be good lineups for the type of tournament that we've selected it for. And I think that's why I said, Hoop, you could build in sets, even if you only have the core plan or the starter plan. If you build out your Scotty lineups with good Scotty, you can lock Scotty and use Saber score and still have, 75 of your 150.
You're going to get the best versions of Scotty
lineups, but still be 50% to the field. Like, that's what I'm trying to say. And then your other 50 lineups, you're getting sort of the best non-Scotty lineups. And again, other shows are going to talk to you about the best guy in the 9K range is this, and the best guy in the 8K range. We need the best lineups. We're playing DFS. We need to put ourselves in the best position to win the tournament in the field that we're against. And the golf people will say, oh, but how would you win if you didn't have the best golfer? They don't know either. Nobody knows who the best golfer is. It's a result at the end of the tournament that, yes, your lineup does have winning golfers and golfers that played good for the week on it. But it's so hard to predict that. We know in golf mostly what the field is doing. We have really good ownership projections. We have the ability with tools like Sabersim to see how people are playing and use this to our advantage against the field. And that's the difference in playing DFS and trying to pick who the winning golfer is and betting and all that different stuff as well. So I think this was a good exercise to be able to show that. And that's a prime example.
This is literally the perfect example to show the true value of Sabersim and what it does for, roster construction, building out teams, even game theory. Like, game theory, a lot of people thinks in your head, like they're on top of this. We just talked about this example, Scotty Scheffler. If you're playing Scotty Scheffler, you probably shouldn't be playing him with the most popular guy in the mid 7K range. We had our Scotty teams here. There's 28 Scotty teams. Saber gave us one team, 1 out of 28, that had the popular guy in the 7. So it's doing the work for you, essentially. I mean, it's literally just doing the work for you. The best example on the slate right here. This is the best example based on the numbers. Now, it could change, with different projections and things like that. Based on the numbers in here showing Taylor Moore, 26%. Saber knows does not make sense to pair Scotty Scheffler with the highest known guy, only 1 out of 28. So this is a perfect example of that. But the other thing I will add, though, is you go through all these teams, it's the same. Like even the Saber, the roster construction and the salaries, 84 to 68 with the rest of the guys, 81 to 67.
I'll cut you off. Go back up for a second, though. That's an interesting note, though. That lineup has 1 8K, 2 6Ks. Most lineups had 4 or 5 7K guys. In the original projections, that one's going 2 in the 6s. Not that they matter. They're all the same as 7K guys, but there at least is some difference. And if it is going to a heavy 7K approach like those other builds, it's look at these 4 percenters and 3 percenters and 7 percenters. So at least it's giving you good golfers at different ownership percentages.
So here's the first one that looks a little bit different. It goes Scotty and Ben Griffin, and then you got 3 upper 6s and 7. Something like this is going to be a little bit different because, again, if you're playing Scotty, everyone's just going to get into that 7K range heavy. So something like this definitely would be a little bit different, and it's the 55th ranked team that we produce. So it still has a solid Saber score behind it. This is right back to it, right back to it, right back to it, right back, right back.
Favorite those two when you go through, like another just quick note on some of the features, because that's more what the show is all about. But you can favorite those lineups if you're like, I don't really like that one. It fits the mold of the other thing. It's a couple lower owned guys, but they're not even guys I like. So you can favorite the ones you do like that are unique. That's how you can look through later to virtually hand build for your single entries and whatnot when you find something that you really like that fits sort of your core plays that you're in on. And then also your, for guys that you like, and then has some differentiation maybe to the roster construction, but also who just the maneuverability and the customization that you can do. Like you said, you want to use your projections closer to lock time. You want to get the final weather from Luke, and you want to be able to see what the final update is on the stone with everything and all the details from our content. But then you can use these projections and ownership to say, well, I don't agree with this. If you are thinking shout out to our guy DJ, and you're thinking about his approach of steam and moonwalk. If you're like, I don't believe this at all, like I'm with those guys. I think Scotty's going to be way closer to 50% here, 60%. We've only got him at 48. I want to pop him to 59, and I want to move that. You have to move the other ownership around to where else you think it would go, because now others are coming down with it. Then use this tool to run and use Saber Score, or if you have the ultimate package, you can use Contest Sims to see. That's where the real power lies, because now you're using a much more accurate field because you finagled with the numbers and made them your own way. We did that the show yesterday with Rio and you going through the baseball stuff. It was the same thing there. Rio was talking about making his own adjustments in Sabersim because it is fully customizable, that you can go in and change the ownership, change the projection, whatever you want to do, and make the adjustments you see fit.
Yeah, totally agree. So it's a good exercise for sure, just to get a feel for the slate and just see where everyone's at. And it's very important this week on a slate where we know, like, there's no doubt about it, that we have one guy that's very expensive, but is going to be very, very popular.
Yeah. Before we go into the tiers, just to have a little bit of a discussion, because like we said, we'll still give ideas and talk about how it relates to roster construction, not just who in the tiers, but some of the interesting stuff we see. This, not for one and done as much. I think this is still a good, interesting, sort of DFS conversation. If not Scotty, because this can segue us there, who do you think really stands a chance to win here? Like, who are you feeling good about up at the top, or maybe you got a sleeper hoop? What are sort of the other winner thoughts if it's not going to be Scotty Scheffler week?
Well, I have a problem with my Canadians, and I probably Taylor Pendrith I like this week. I mean, I think he has win, and I believe has he won here in the past?
Last year,
I know he did win last year. Okay, maybe that's why it's in my head. Yeah. I must have had a good week last year at the CJ Cup, because I always play his ass. I do like him at a course like this where it's very easy, can make a lot of birdies. Coming down, I've been playing a lot of Jake Knapp. Like, I don't mind taking like a flyer on like a Jake Knapp, a guy that can get very hot. He had a really low round, like a 11 under at one point at a different tournament. So I don't know, something like that. But it is very tough, though. I mean, it's a tough week for one and done if you're not playing Scotty Scheffler, which I'm assuming. I don't do a ton of one and done, but I'm assuming you want the big name guys at the majors where they can get more money, right?
Signature events and majors. Most people have either used Scotty or they're definitely not using him here. So you'll see people take a shot on Spieth, Sung Jae, Pendrith, things like that. But if you're looking here just to go completely down the board, there might be some options we find. I'm sure you'll call some out when we get down there. One quick note, real fast, if you guys do want to check out Sabersim, if you want to get all of our content, our projections, ownership, the education course, the course fit rankings from our guy Lee that I mentioned earlier, the Stone, best tool in DFS, we make it easy for you because we change our pricing up based on the time of year, the seasonality of it, everything that goes with it. So you can use DGen 75 for the $99 monthly plan on the site and pay just $24. It's $75 off your first month. So $24, less than $1 a day. And that's a whole month. You're going to get a bunch more PGA tournaments coming up. We've got the Truist Championship, and then the next major is included, the PGA Championship. So why not get in now, bring it across? You'll get right through Memorial, which is another big signature event. And then you've got all the MMA events, the NASCAR, the baseball, the hockey playoffs, NBA playoffs, all that and more. So if you want to check it out, now is the time to do so. Hoop, We talked a little bit about this upper range with Scotty. Mentioned my guy Sungjae. Spieth is up there as well. Let's just combine sort of the 9K and up. What do you see people doing if they don't go to Scotty? Is it playing Spieth and someone? Is it Sungjae and someone? Or is it just Ben Griffin won last week, so we got to go down to him? What's sort of the roster construction thoughts from the upper range here without Scotty?
My initial thought is kind of falls in line with like what ownership thinks. Like outside of a couple guys, I think everyone probably gets a little bit. Like no one's going to want to be on Sam Burns. He's been playing like shit. Like, and he hasn't 9,800 for him is a crazy price tag. So he's one that I don't think many people will play, but I think Spieth will get a little, Sungjae will get a little, Benny Ann will, Pendrith will, Siwoo will, Griffin definitely will, like you talked about. So I think those are the guys that get it. None of them are going to get a ton because everyone's going to just try to play Scotty. But for me, my favorites up here, I already talked about it being, Pendrith. I really like him. I think he can play well at this course, which he obviously has in the past. But I've been playing a lot of Ben Griffin too, so I'm fine playing him. Benny An, I think, does set up well here, but based on the Saber projections, or Saber ownership, looks like he's one that could get a little bit. And I don't even hate Spieth here. Like, there's not much danger on this course, and the main issue with him is always off the tee, and if that's negated a little bit here, I don't mind it. But it really comes down to what you do with Scotty. Like, if you're trying to get overweight on Scotty, you basically have to lock him. Like, there's just if you want to play Scotty and take an overweight approach, I would just hit the lock button and say it's going to be Scotty this week. And, I'm just playing him, which does then make it very difficult to play Spieth, Sungjae, maybe Benny On. Once you get into the mid 9Ks, you can make it work. But, I don't know. It makes it challenging for me. The guys I like the most, so after Scotty up here, definitely Pendrith, Griffin, and probably Benny On. But I could end up just locking Scotty this week. I haven't decided what I'm going to do. I might just lock him, and if that's the case, I can't get a lot of Spieth or Sungjae in my lineups.
Yeah, I think this is one of the best spots to talk about it because that's sort of my theory is always around playing the game and looking at it. And the Scotty factor of the Taylor Moore thing earlier was just the best example. We went by projection. I think a lot of people will go by that. So what people don't realize is when Scotty is 50% owned, and we just keep it on easy terms here, every 1,000 lineups, 500 of them have Scotty. That's math for you. Hooray. But just think about this. If that's where I get when people are like, well, if you're just going to play Scotty at 50%, you're just eating you're just paying the rake. It's like, no, because you just saw how many terrible Scotty lineups there was for someone who just runs an optimizer. They're going to be filled with chalk, the most popular pieces, all of that. So of those 500 lineups out of every 1,000, maybe only 350 of them or 400 of them are actually good or built well, like with the way we're looking at it with Saber Score or with actual leverage pieces in there, good projection and ownership, like all these different factors. But that's where I could have 60% Scotty, cover myself, even if he does get to 55 to 60 range, because I think 40% is probably going to be what he's at. And then I got 20% leverage, and then I can build the rest of my lineups without Scotty. I do like spreading out my portfolio. It's not often that I'll lock somebody. And I think there is some interesting stuff here. Even if these guys get popularity, I can still be overweight with them overall. Like Jordan Spieth playing much better golf right now than maybe people are even giving him credit for. And it just, is it enough to validate a 10-5 price tag? Not necessarily, because 18th, 12th, 14th, those really don't add up to that. Like, they're not great, but he's had 2nd and 9th here in the past 2 of the last 3 years before the miscut last year. He's been playing, you just seen it, signs of it. And like you said, he can get away with a little bit more here. So if I'm not playing Scotty, Spieth, and Sungjae before any of those 9K guys are going to be where I go, not just because they're next in line with pricing. They're just the guys that I like more and would trust more. Benny Ann would be one of my favorites actually in the 9K range over a lot of those other guys. Now, I got love for the Canadians always, but almost 10K Pendrith. I get it. He won here last year. He's phenomenal, etc. A little bit harder time with that. Some of the other guys, I'll just see it here, but it's definitely Spieth, Sungjae, probably Benny. And then, man, it's tough after that. Like, I just don't really love the rest of those guys. And I think then I'd be able to get into the 8K range a little bit more where I like some guys. The last thing I'll say just in the Scotty conversation up top is there is so many guys, 6,500 to 6,900. I mean, I looked at it again. We're going to get down there in a little bit, but just to note it, I think there's a ton of lineups that you can build with Scotty and somebody else up top, like what we just talked about, and then just skip over the 8s and 7s or play 3 6s and land on a 7. I really don't think, even with cut and all these other factors, I just don't care. I don't think anything that says all these guys in the low 7s, there's literally like 8 guys just at 7K flat, and maybe more when you get up to 71. There's like 15 guys at 7 to 7,100. I don't think there's anything that you can sell me on that says they're better than the same 15 guys from 68 to 6,900. It's the same guy.
Yeah,
same
I agree. Yeah,
so
fully agree.
It's, you're going to get lower ownership because of it. And it's also, people got to remember, there's a factor to the hand builders. There's a factor to the optimizers. There's a factor to all the different players out there that are playing it's a common question. I get it all the time. Is 2 6K guys too much? Well, 4 is not too much. If you're playing 4 guys at 6,900, they're basically the same. It's like people see it as a totally different world than playing 4 7K guys, but it's literally the exact same thing.
It's just the same as the pricing on products, like the 99-cent model. I mean, it's literally the exact same thing. Like, there's something mental to it. And then PGA DFS, when you get into that 6K, like, people will view a 7K guy much different than a $6,900 guy because the price tag starts with the 6 and not a 7. It is wild. That's
why I call it the best buy pricing, baby. That's what it always was. And it's like, this TV for less than $1,000. And the wife's like, well, how much did you pay? $9.99 and 99 cents. Wow, congrats. And then with the tax, you actually paid more. So that's typically how it goes. But yeah, I agree. And that's something I would just note up there. 8K range real quick, as there just some standouts there. I mean, the Hogards were playing really good together last week at the team event. You got Willie Z, Tom Kim, Bridgman, Knapp, you mentioned earlier. People were talking in the chat about Michael said, I like Rio. And we had him last time looking pretty good. I know Mayo was pretty high on him last time out. So lots of guys in this 8K range, though. And you could start Scotty with a couple of these guys too, I think, or at least one of them. And from there, well, what's your thoughts on this 8K range?
My favorites are right in the middle of this range, and they're priced right in order. Gerard, Bridgman, Knapp, and Hisasune. I've been playing him quite a bit. 8,300. I agree with our guy Michael Ortiz in the chat. He says he likes Rio. I do it as well. 86 for Gerard, 85 for Bridgman, 84 for Knapp, 83 for Hisasune, by clear 4 favorites in this range. And it's not particularly close. I mean, the stuff with Zalatoris and Tom Kim, I mean, they're the names, right? And if they're right on their game, they're definitely in the 9K, maybe even 10K, but they haven't been right. It's been somewhat of a disaster. So there is some risk there with those guys, but maybe on an easy course they're able to find it. I just prefer the other dudes, right here in this range. The Hogards, like you said, they play great together, but individually they've been complete shitheads like on the course. So not a ton of interest there. Harry Hall, it's looking like he might get some ownership here at 8K flat, same as Seamus Power. I just prefer the middle of this range. Those 4 will be my main focus here.
Yeah, Rio could pick up a little steam, but probably rightfully so. I mean, solid result here last year, 18th, 5th, 4th. Guy's been playing great golf, and he's priced right. So under the average price tag, it is what it is. There's tons of ways to get different with him. If it's a non-Scotty lineup, if it's a Scotty lineup, a couple 6Ks, like we already talked about. That's where it's not the same to me as playing like the Taylor Moore situation that you mentioned earlier. You're going to get steamed up a little bit. Yeah. It really can put you on a completely different build path. And then if you're not with Scotty, you can get away with whatever there. So I think that's interesting. I'm still laughing at the guy earlier this season that called him Tom Sim. Said he's good on the simulator on TGL, but he's not been good out on the course. He's just been very, very mediocre, and in some cases bad. Couple missed cuts, 52nd, 36th, 42nd, 44th, just nothing there to speak of.
They're not bringing that shit back for next year, are they?
Oh yeah, they're talking about expanding it and developing it. Like, I've never seen people. They got money to bury though. So
yeah, well that's it. I mean, whoever's financing it is just fine taking a loss at this point. Like that's a loser operation. I've said it since day one. I have not backed off on that. I mean, it is not going to be successful. It is not good. They struggle to find success with actual golf, like broadcasting actual golf. How the hell are they going to sell people on simulated golf? Like it's so
just
stupid.
A niche thing. People just have to realize that. They think like we're just hating on it all the time. It's like if you love simulator golf because you can relate to it because you play it with your buddies, then enjoy it. I don't care. I just think it's insane that people thought it was going to be like this major mainstream thing. And what's really frustrating is when they take the first 2 weeks where they did 1,900,000, which was a great marketing plan on their part, but they paid for the seats for every influencer in the world to be there on night one, and they held Tiger back for week 2, which was super smart, because if you're already getting good traction on week 1 that you paid for and are going to get no matter what, you don't need to release Tiger on that one. But then they averaged their views for the entire season when they literally went, I can't even bend my arm for the cliff, how far they dropped off. It was like from 1 million to 100,000 and something. I think it was 166,000.
I don't pay super close attention to it, but are people in the industry still trying, or are they still trying to pump it towards the end of the season like this was the real deal?
Oh yeah, the playoffs.
I know a lot of them are your friends, so you don't want to say too much.
Figured out the ham. No, this is what I'll make fun of, no problem. But I get everybody has to make their own name and make their own space. I'm thankful that we have a great community, get to do what we do, and not have to go down that route of promoting anything and everything. It's more so just that. But I get why people have to do it, but for me, I just don't want to push something that I don't believe in. And for this, it's just not my niche. It's not my thing. For those that love it, enjoy it. I think that's great. Yeah. This other spot here, you mentioned a lot of them, but like Gerard, Bridgman, I don't know. I'm just not as high on the Zals, the big names. Like I'm not high on the Hogards, the Tom Kims, the Zals early on. I guess the sneaky ones could be like Eric Cole, Seamus Power, Harry Hall, because right at the bottom, I don't think many people will have interest there. They'll be much higher on the upper 7K range with the guys everybody loves, like Wallace, Smalley, Yu, Hoey, Eckroat, Stevens, Kitayama. Those are all fan favorites. So there would be something to be said. Eric Cole got 23rd here a couple of years ago, but even before the team event or whatever, was 18th, 26th, 15th, and 12th. Some solid form coming in. We know he can get hot at times, and if he's on one of these hot streaks is usually when you want to be on him. So if you disregard last week, I'd be fine moving to him. And then the other guy I was looking at here was Harry Hall, but what's he been up to? Not the best overall, but he's had a couple good results sprinkled in there. So I don't know. It's interesting, but there's a lot of guys in the up to 7K range you can go to.
Yeah, he's made some cuts. That's kind of about it for Harry.
Yeah, nothing too crazy. Seamus Powers played pretty good here in the past and coming off an 18th place last time out. I mean, that's just a side note, but I do think what's more interesting to me is always thinking about it from a perspective of, if people are doing this, what are some alternatives? When people are landing in the 8K, I believe early on at least, it's going to be Rio, Knapp, Bridgman, or going to like the popular names. I don't think it'll be Cole, Power, Hall range. So those guys would be a little bit more interesting down at the bottom. Anything?
I prefer Power over Hall if deciding. Just it seems like when Seamus Power makes the cut, like he has a chance to like be in contention. Like his finishes are pretty good. He has a way of getting up the top of the leaderboard. So I'd probably prefer him to Hall, but
I like that call actually, because good point. We talk about this often, like the boom bust when you're going to something like that.
Yeah,
he's got 4 missed cuts surrounded by an 18th, an 8th, and a 24th, and then here a miscut, but surrounded by a 9th, a 19th, a 17th, top 20s, and a top 10 versus the miscut. And you kind of want that all or nothing in that spot. It sucks when you get the miscut, but it's great when you get the upside. Yeah,
I definitely would give him a look for sure. Actually, he's outside of those guys I mentioned in the middle of the range. I'd definitely probably like him next. 7K, it's massive. I'll just rattle off some names. Yeah. Kevin Yu. I always like Kevin Yu. He can score. Another guy that when playing well can get to the top of the leaderboard. Hoey, I've been playing. I kind of got to stick with him. McCarty, Hodges, definitely Hodges. I love Hodges. I always like Hodges. 7,500, perfect pivot. If Taylor Moore does indeed get this massive ownership, Hodges, same price tag. Like, give me Hodges all day on that. Jesper Svensson, Chan Kim, Toasty. I think Toasty could have some success here. Long off the tee. Ryan Fox, Davis Riley, I like at 7,200. Coming down, I'd be fine taking a chance on like Cameron Davis, 7,100. Goddard, I don't mind. Fishburne, Bo Hostler potentially. Those are some of my favorites here. But really the important part in this range is this mid sevens, and if this is true, the 25-ish% on Taylor Moore, so many guys to find for a pivot. So it's one thing to definitely take note of this week.
Yeah, I mean, he'll drop off here for sure once we get the actual final ownership, I'm sure. In higher stakes, smaller field stuff, I could definitely see people just trusting it And
it does still. I looked at a couple other sources, and it does still look like it's not going to be 25, but he's probably going to be the highest in this range.
He's the guy for sure. I agree on that. Looking at a couple other things as well. So yeah, definitely that. I was just going to try and go to our course fit rankings. I won't put them up on the screen, but just some of the guys that pop there is just a note. Like, just these are a great tool if you're building in sets. I think building some course fit rankings lineups are a good way to go about it. I won't give exact ranks, but your guy Lee Hodges, Chan Kim pop up, Alex Smalley, Thorbjorn Olesen, he's an interesting spot there that you see. Matt Kuchar, our guy Lee really likes. He's in the free value report. You can check out, go to shipitnation.com, just hit PGA. The value report when in the drop down is free every week. And that's where Lee puts 6 guys in there that you can look at for the week in the value range. He's done an incredible job. I know a lot of people make a lot of money off of that each week this season. Echeverria is a solid rank in there. And that's kind of, just a few. I'm not going to name them all, but just to note it, the one interesting thing to me, and I'll use it as a segue, if you have nothing else there, you can circle back in a second, Hoop, but the 6K range does have, especially the upper 6K range, a lot of good ranks. So that's one thing I would say is, if you're trying to make your pool happen and use all the things that we've talked about throughout this show and put it all together as one, it's all pieces of the puzzle, and then you're trying to put it together, and you can contrast this with the stone. When the stone comes out, we have the course fit ranking right on there where you're able to compare this as well and sort of highlight some guys. This range in the upper 6s does have some solid names. Who are some of the guys in the 6K range that you like? And then we'll wrap this thing up.
Again, it's not strong conviction down here, right? It's just guys that I'm fine keeping in the player pool. Like, I'd take a chance on Johnny Vegas at 69, Andrew Putnam, 69, this Quade Cummins at 69, Kanaya. I actually do like Kanaya, 6,800. Just wanted to look up one thing quickly. He played last week, right?
He was with Rio.
Rio. Yeah. I think they made the cut, but yeah, I like him at 68. Adam Svensson, obviously, I'm in on him. Joseph Bramlett, Mark Hubbard, Chandler Phillips, 67. I've been playing him, 6,700. I'm good with that. My guy Adam Shanks down here. You guys know I have, always have interest in him. Yeah, those are a few that I'm interested in, but my favorite is probably, let's see, I'll throw out, we'll go, I guess this Kanaya. I think he could do something this week.
Yeah, there's not as much. I was just going through it like at the very bottom when you get down there outside of some of these dudes that you definitely would be taking a shot. But man, the 6,500 and up range has my former guy that my dad loves, Kevin Tway. He's got some good results here, and he's popped a little bit for us. So maybe
they made the cut. Did he play? He played last week. Who was he with? Can't remember.
I actually forget.
Was he with Bug Cauley?
I can't remember who was with.
I think it was Cauley.
He played pretty good last week with his partner, and he's got a 9th and 11th here the last couple of the years. Previous 9th in the back, in the history, but just the last couple of years, some decent results. So just to note it, I think it's little things like that you're looking at. But I will say, so just to give you an idea, I won't pop them all off, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It looks like 11 guys in the top 30 of our course fit rankings, or top 35, I guess. 34 was one of them. So top 34 and up, there's 11 guys in the $6,400 to $6,900 range for course fit rankings. And that just tells you, if you go look at the projections, which we've got up there, they're putting some of these guys into your pool. Like, I would just not be afraid of this range and everything we talked about earlier with the best buy pricing and whatnot. That's certainly the way to go when you're looking at it. Again, if you want to check out Sabersim, if you want to check out those course fit rankings that I'm talking about, you can use DGen 75. It's the $99 a month all access core plan. You get $75 off your first month. You can check out everything we have to offer over there on the site, and that's going to get you covered for all the sports, not just one. That includes NASCAR, not a full another package. It's MLB's ongoing daily. We got the NBA playoffs rocking and rolling, like everything like that you're going to get included. So DGen 75 to save $75 off your first month. Hoop, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
No, sir. That promo code, it's the best value in this industry, most affordable. All in for $24 per month. So, and Discord too. Obviously, get in the Discord with that $24 a month, which is huge. I always talk about it. Just such a helpful environment. Very friendly. Everyone like-minded, working towards the same goals. So the Discord alone for $24 for the month, like I think I would pay the $24 just to be in the Discord for a month, to be honest with you.
Yeah, get around those people. And we've got the support in there for Sabersim as well. So if you're new to it and you're kind of worried about how this is going to work or this, that, and the other thing, Hoop, do you have Splash Sports up over there right now?
Yep.
Bring that up real quick too, because just to talk about it, we really appreciate all the support, everybody hopping in to help grow this thing. We've got some meetings with the Splash Sport team coming up. We're working on some big things leading up towards NFL, golf as well, the other majors, all of these things. But $5,000 guaranteed this week. They did 6,000 last time out. So just to note it there, if you've got the contest, I'm not sure if it's popping up now, but
yeah, I'm getting on. Let's say Splash. There we go.
You got her?
Yes, sir. All right.
Here it's right. PGA tiers. Yeah. So there's, anyway, I just want to see the payout structure there too, just so people can see it. So 5K is guaranteed. So it's not, if it doesn't fill, it's still going to pay out. It's going to have overlay. But 750, 625, 500, 375. I know a few people in our Discord said, I hopped on there, had my biggest wins yet for PGA, a $300, a $350, a $500, like things like that. So if you're getting in and supporting, that's the way to go. You see me there over on the side. Give me a follow over on Splash. We'll get that set up. Make sure you follow us here on the YouTube channel. Make sure you're subscribed to this channel. We're going to have a ton more coming up as the season goes on. Anything else, Hoop, for today that you want to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of Splash, I mean, just a very easy format. I mean, you don't need to worry about correlation or anything like that. You go in and just pick from a tier. It's 5 or 6 different tiers, and a nice flat payout. It's not a super top heavy thing like this industry has kind of gone towards. Very flat and very solid and fun format for sure.
And there's things that you can do in there too. I don't know if people know this, but like just in general, it's obvious. But if I don't think anybody's paying attention to it enough to say. And there's more casual players from pools and things like that. But if there's a week with like a wave advantage, for example, you can just pick somebody from every tier, regardless if they're popular or not. You could say, okay, I'm just going to go with the wave advantage and play it like that. Use some of your DFS knowledge to your advantage over there, and I think you'll be in a better spot as well. You can also use our projections. You can use different things that you're correlating with to make those tiers line up the way you want them. But that's definitely a good contest to be in. It's going to pay out regardless. So it'll show the overlay alert probably tonight or tomorrow, because there's only 163 of 556 right now. But make sure you get into that. Check it out. If you haven't got over there yet, you can join. Use code SHIPIT. It's just /sports.com/SHIPIT, and you'll be able to get in. All right, Hoop. I think that's going to do it for this one, man. We've got a ton of good content coming up. We'll have our guy Luke on here tomorrow night. If you guys have any other questions, if you're a member, let us know in the Discord. Otherwise, you can tag us on X. Follow us here. Subscribe. Make sure to like the show. That's going to do it for this one, guys. For Hoop, for myself, ToeTagginTambo, let's ship it.